Hey guys, today I'm going to be giving you a demo of the app Sketchbook X, and we're going to be using this for our next project. So, the first thing that you are going to do when you turn on your iPad is you're going to find the app Sketchbook X, and if you haven't downloaded it yet, you're going to need to go to self-service to download it. The app icon looks just like this. It's a little S, and it says the word Express underneath. When you get into Sketchbook X, what you're going to want to do is tap on the window icon that is in the upper left-hand corner, and that's going to take you to the main screen. This is where you're going to see all of the projects that you've already started working on. And if you have previously worked in this, you might have things there, but if you have never worked in this app, this is going to be blank. To start a new project, you're going to tap the plus button in the bottom left-hand corner. That's going to bring you up to a blank canvas, and I'm going to today talk a little bit about all the different tools that we have available in Sketchbook X. So, first one, like I said, is the window, and that's going to take you back to the gallery. The plus is going to be a quick, easy shortcut to getting a new piece of paper. The eye is going to show you where you can go find some help, or if we were on our personal iPads, where you can go to the store to maybe find some other tools to use in the app. The next button here is going to be the undo button, and this is a really nice thing about digital art, is that you can undo things really quickly and easily. The next one is the redo button in case you accidentally undo something that you wanted to keep. And the next one is going to be the tool that we're going to use the most often, and this is going to be the brush tool, and this is where you're going to decide what tool it is that you want to be working with. So on this screen you can see all the different tools that are down here. And you can also see a circle here where you're going to be selecting your color. When you move the circle on the outside, you're going to see that the inside shape is changing colors. If you want to get a tint or a shade, so remember those are light and dark variations of colors, you can also adjust the little square that is inside the circle. So if I want the color to be just regular and really nice and bright, I can go over to this corner. But if I want it to be a little bit darker, I can come down here towards the black, and up here it's going to preview what that color is going to look like for me. If I come over here, it's going to mix the color with gray, and if I come up here, it's going to mix it with white. So if I wanted like a really light pink, that would be a good place to start. You can also adjust it using the bars down here. And you're going to want to make sure that if you are choosing a color that you turn off this. So what this is it's kind of a rainbow tool. And so what this is going to do if you have this on is it's going to switch colors every time that you touch down. So if I touch down multiple times, it's going to start to switch colors on me. Now you can also adjust the hue in that so that it either has colors from the whole rainbow, like now it's doing some light greens and blues, or you can adjust it so that it doesn't have the entire rainbow. So you can take it down to being just a couple of colors. So maybe we only want red and oranges. And I'm going to make my brush just a little bit bigger. And now it's going to just stay in those red and oranges. I'm going to give myself a new blank document. And we're ready to go again. Now, going back to that same menu, we're going to turn off the rainbow, like I said, because I want to keep the color that I'm selecting. And then you can also try some different tools. And a tool preview is going to show up here every time that you switch tools. So as we switch to different ones, you can see that they're going to look a little bit different up there. You can also change the size of your tool, and you do that by using the radius button. So you guys will remember that the radius is the distance from the inside center point of a circle to the outside of the circle. And so this is, we make it bigger, is going to make the brush bigger, and as we make it smaller is going to make our brush a little bit smaller. Opacity is something that we've talked previously about with watercolor or tempera paint. And so a good way to think of opacity is that a low opacity is going to be more like watercolor, and a higher opacity is going to be more like tempera. Now when we work with watercolor, if we draw underneath or we outline it with marker before we start to paint, we're still going to be able to see those lines once we finish painting, because watercolor has a clear opacity. It's got a low opacity. However, with tempera paint or acrylic paint, we know that we're not going to be able to usually see through it. And so that is something that has a really high opacity. So it's something that you're not going to see through to the layers underneath. You can decide what you want to do. So I'm going to give you guys an example of high opacity and low opacity. Alright, so with high opacity, I'm going to make my brush just a little bigger. Let's go with this guy. If I go over the top of it, you're going to see that it's not blending the colors at all. However, if I change my opacity to being lower, you're going to notice that when I go over that red, it's going to make it start to look like orange. Go even lower. And you guys can see that it's kind of blending and you can see what's underneath it, okay? So opacity, like I said, is going to be how clear something is, how much you can see through to what's underneath. Going back to this tool, I'm going to turn my opacity back up. There are two tools here that you're not going to be able to select a color for, and those are the two erasers. So one of the erasers, and if you look closely at the icon, one has a rounded edge and one has a square edge. So this one, when you erase, is going to be a circle shape, and this one, when you erase, is going to be a square shape that you're erasing with. When you look over here, you're going to notice you can't select a color. And a lot of times I have kiddos come up to me and say, Miss Nugent, mine's not working, I can't select a color anymore. Well, the reason you can't select a color is because you're on the eraser. And so you can't erase in a color, you can only erase on a regular tool. So as soon as you tap back to a normal tool, you'll be able to start selecting your colors again. Up here we also have the fill bucket, and the fill bucket is going to be a quick and easy way to fill in a shape. So for example, if I go to my background here and I create a circle, as long as that shape is closed, meaning that the line comes back and touches itself, I can go to the paint bucket and I can quickly and easily fill in the inside of that shape. So this is a really nice, easy, quick way to fill things in really fast. A quick little reminder with that though, if your shape has any opening in it whatsoever, it's going to fill the entire background or the entire space until it reaches an outside edge. So if I go to my paint bucket again, I'm going to do this one with green, and you guys can see that I left a little opening in there, right? So when I tap here to fill that in, it's going to fill the entire background. Okay, so I can undo, and then if I didn't want it to do that, I could always zoom in and go back to my yellow, and I could fill this, connect it back over. Now when I go to fill it, we're going to be just fine. The next tool that we're going to look at is the tool that allows you to draw shapes or straight lines. So this tool, if it's on this mode, which is what it normally is on, it's going to be just a free drawing pencil. So you can make curved lines, straight lines, whatever you would like to as you are drawing. With this tool, when we select a straight line or a square, it's going to only draw those kind of lines or shapes. So when I click and drag, you're going to see a dotted line that shows up, and when I let go, it's going to draw a straight line there if I'm on the straight line tool. You can also switch it over to drawing squares, and this will do either a square or a rectangle. And same with the circle tool, which will do circles or ovals. Again, you can still go back then and fill in those shapes if you would like to. So if you decide you want to start filling things in, it's a really quick, easy way to do that with the flood fill. I'm going to get myself a new blank again, and the next tool that we're going to talk about is the symmetry tool. And so the symmetry tool is this one, and you can see, you guys know what symmetry is, right? We've talked about that before. So symmetry is when something is the same on the left as it is on the right, and if there's only one of something, it goes in the middle. So think about your face. If you have one eye on the right side, you have one on the left side, and if you only have one of something, it goes in the middle, like your nose or your mouth. When you turn the symmetry tool on and you draw with it, I gotta go back to my drawing tool here. When you turn the symmetry tool on and you draw with it, you're going to notice that it's going to make the same design on both sides. So this can be fun if you really wanted to make maybe a symmetrical little creature. I'm gonna go back and give myself another new one. The dot 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 tool is where you're going to be able to either add text or to transform what it is that you've drawn. So if you wanted to add text, you could do that really quickly and easily by going into the text tool, and you can just type whatever it is that you want. So the project that I'm focusing on right now is a project for Artspire, so maybe I want to write Artspire. And then you can change the color of your text if you want to, so maybe I want to make it pink. You can change the font. They have a few fonts in here for you, so maybe I like this one. And you can also change the size of it. Okay, and then you can change the location of it once you have finished doing that by tapping up here, and you can move your text around your project. So maybe I want it to be up here at the top. You can also change the opacity of it, just like we could with all of our other tools, by sliding the slider that's right down here. If you want to rotate it, you can do that with this, and you're just going to turn it against where that pin is in the middle, okay? And again, you can adjust the font size with this as well. So you can make it bigger or smaller using just your finger. We're going to tap the done button. And now that we have our text in there, it's not going to be able to be moved around. So now it's kind of permanent, okay? But you can tap on the transform key and you can adjust it a little bit more in there. Now, when you do transform, you're going to notice that it's going to transform not just the text, it's going to transform other things as well. So that tool applies to other things on your picture. So if I have a circle here and I hit the transform button again, as I adjust it, it's going to keep those in the same space. They're just going to rotate around as we adjust our canvas. The last one that we're going to talk about is layers. And when we think about layers, I want you guys to think about collage. So where you have a background and then you might have some objects in the middle ground and then some things really close to us in the foreground. And so when we think about our layers, you can add up to 3 layers here in this app. And we can use this to really make a nice layout for our project. So I'm going to go to a new one and I'll give you guys an example of that. On my first layer here, if I wanted to start with adding the background, I could do that really quickly and easily by drawing a line and then using my flood fill. Now, if I know that I really like this background, I can create a new layer to do the next part of my project. On my second layer, I might want to draw something like a house. When it comes to erasing is where you're really going to notice a difference with the layers. So, for example, I'm going to go back to my background layer and I'm going to draw something on here as well. So I do that by tapping on my layers and then I tap on this background layer, and as you guys can see on there, there's a blue square that's around this, and when I tap on this layer it goes around that one. So that's how you know what layer it is that you're working on. It's really important to pay attention to what layer you're working on, and I'm going to show you why right now. So if I draw something on my background layer and I decide that I don't like it, when I go to my eraser tool, it's not just going to erase that object, it's going to also erase the background. So I'm going to undo, and I'm going to go back to my top layer. If I decided that there was something about this house that I didn't like, I could really easily erase parts of it, and it's not going to affect the background at all because it's on a separate layer. So I'm on my eraser tool again, and if I decided maybe that I didn't like this house, I can erase it, and it's going to go away and leave my background alone the way that it was, which is really, really nice. I can undo if I want to bring my house back, and then I'm good to go again. So using the layers is going to be really, really helpful for you. That's a really good way to start your project. You can add up to 3 layers, like I said. So now if we wanted to, we could put something in front of our house, and we can rearrange layers by clicking on the 3 little lines that are over here and dragging up or down. So if I maybe wanted my background to be in front of my house, which in this case I wouldn't, but you could move it to the top and it would be ready to go. You guys can see that now we can't see that house. If I rearrange it again and put it back behind, then you can see that my house is visible again. Also in the layer menu, you can duplicate a layer if you want to. So if you don't have your total number of layers, so I'm going to delete this one, or actually I'm going to merge it down. So it's going to merge it with the layer below it. And then if I wanted to maybe make another house, I could duplicate this layer by tapping there. And so now if I go to the transform key, you're going to see that I have a second house that I can move over to the side. Once you're all done, what you're going to need to do is you're going to tap in the window and you're going to tap the save button. And I'm also going to show you how to export this to the camera roll. So when you're completely done with the project, you're going to tap on it. And then you're going to tap this flower with the arrow, and you should think about that kind of like how we think about the Sharrow on the iPad. So whenever we want to share something or export something, we tap on the Sharrow, and in this case it's a flower with an arrow. And we're going to export it to the photo library. So I'm going to readjust here so you guys can see a little better. So we're going to export it to the photo library, and then it's going to ask you which orientation is the right way. So is it pointing up, sideways, left, or down? And we're obviously going to tap the one where it's facing up. And now if I go out and go into my camera roll, I'm going to see that that picture is now there. I will post this video on my board so that if you need to review it, you guys can let me know, and that way we can go through the directions again if you get stuck on something.